The Out of Bounds Show podcast is powered by the DeWalt tools at Ace Bolt and Screw. Visit acebolt.net for a location near you.
WRKS Pickens Jackson.
All systems go.
Live from the Whiskey 61 Lounge inside the Bank Plus studio.
This is now recorded.
Live in the studio. It's the Out of Bounds Show with Bo Bounds. Streaming live worldwide on the Out of Bounds radio app. And on your radio at ESPN 105.9.
All set? Let's go.
The Zone.
All right, here we go. Good morning. Welcome in. We are the Out of Bounds Show, 105.9 The Zone, ESPN. Hope you had a good weekend. The weather was pretty darn good throughout the weekend for the most part. And the Mississippi State Bulldogs and Ole Miss Rebels in the It's Too Toxic rivalry completed another 3-game series in Stark Vegas, Mississippi. Duty Noble Field. Blake Mania was there for 2 of the 3 games. So was I. I don't want to surprise you, but I hung out with Hail State and Ole Miss people. And everybody got along. Isn't it amazing? Oh, man. The It's Too Toxic rivalry, once again, is played, and everything went well. So Mississippi State takes 2 of 3. We'll get into that here in just a second. We're loaded up on guests for a Monday, especially the first hour and a half, 2 hours of the show. So we'll jump into some of that. We'll tell you about that. The show is powered by the Golden Moon Casino Sportsbook. Saw some of those guys at Duty Noble Field. And also award-winning Dancing Rabbit Golf Club. We're streaming live on the Out of Bounds radio app. And a couple of different ways that you can hit us up on the show. We'll go back to the, what I guess I call the Bank Plus Studio Madison call-in line. Farm Bureau Insurance call-in line, 601-707-3750. If you have some thoughts on Lamona's managing the team, Bianco, Landon Sims, Nikhazy, wicked pitchers and talents. And we're both fabulous over the weekend. And then Twitter handle at Bo Bounds. And then the Mississippi Ag John Deere Tractor. Mississippi Ag John Deere Tractor text line is 601-885-3776. And again, we're streaming live on the Out of Bounds radio app. We'll be on YouTube at 7:35. You can watch the show on YouTube. Search Out of Bounds Sports. I've got Blake Mania with me. I'm your host, Bo Bounds. Thanks for making us your sports and entertainment show of choice. Blake?
What's up, boss?
Well,
you having a good day?
Yeah. I mean, you forgot the coffee.
Rocking and rolling.
For the 4th day in a row?
No. Had to, again, like I said, remind you what you're missing.
Yeah. Well, I've got some coffee in my Y'all Lifestyle tumbler. But
every day,
we've been talking about
challenge.
this for a while, and then
it's sitting at the house.
You walk up this morning. I'm like, hey, where's the coffee?
Sitting at the house,
sweet cheeks.
Left it there on purpose, and just again, we got
what is it?
That show value.
I mean, is it like part of your decor in your home?
That's right.
Okay, so now you've got it like on a coffee table by your couch or something.
That's right. That's right. They're scattered across the house. Individual.
You hide it from yourself and your dog?
K-cups everywhere.
That's great.
That's right.
That's great. I would like your feedback on the fact that Blake forgot the coffee again. The Mississippi Ag text line is 601-885-3776. So he's going to have to walk all the way downstairs to Beagle Bagel.
Yeah, that's all right.
And get some coffee at some point. Or you can open a beer. I mean, we've got plenty right beside you in the Gatorade cooler.
Modelo?
I've got that over there in the, I think that's called Bang cooler.
Yes.
Okay. I've got plenty of Modelo over there.
Yes.
Yeah.
In the energy drink cooler.
Is it Energy Monday?
I believe that's right. It's
okay.
Energy Monday.
Well,
there will be no beer showers.
No, well, you're just taking shots early. I mean, Mr. I can't remember the coffee is taking shots at beer showers. Let's recap the weekend. One, I met Ben Mintz, Mr. Mississippi Barstool, and super guy. I mean, we've had him on the show, but, Ole Miss alum, dude's hilarious. Met him in the outfield. Some guys were kind enough to shoot me a text and say, hey, we're hosting Mintz. That's right, Mississippi State guys hosted Ben Mintz, Ole Miss guy, in the It's Too Toxic rivalry on Saturday and Sunday. And he got to see the full thing, man. I mean, he was in a rig where they were loaded up with poppers and pork tenderloin and deer sausage because they made me try it once I went over to meet Ben. And he went on and on about the stadium, the atmosphere, and just, of course, it was Saturday too. And Nikhazy was, threw a hitter and didn't give up any runs. So it was a very good day for Mintz in the ballpark too. But it was good to meet him. And we're hoping to work through some things and have him on the show. Blake, so you start with Friday, and Mississippi State comes away with the 5-2 win.
Yeah.
I thought, McLeod, I thought pitched well. Hoagland, I thought pitched well. Okay. Preston Johnson is really good. I'm not sure why they've gone Preston Johnson over Brandon Smith, but they know more than I do, so it's working out for them. And then Landon Sims was really good. And then Tanner Allen, to me, and Cam James were the guys on Friday, among others. But Tanner lived on base, and Cam took care of people on base. And so that worked out for Mississippi State, and they grabbed game one of the series. And then Saturday, Ole Miss embarrassed Mississippi State, and Doug Nikhazy was a wicked performance from Doug Nikhazy, and then Dunhurst and Gonzalez and so on helped him right at the plate. And then you come to the rubber. I mean, this rivalry is huge. The two teams are committed in baseball. They're both top 10. And it comes down to Sunday, and Drew McDaniel is, where did I come? Do I know a Drew Daniels? I may have gone to Alpine with the Drew Daniels. Anyway, Drew McDaniel, he pitched better than Jackson Fristow. And, it was some back and forth. When Ole Miss hit the bomb to go up 4-2, I think there was a lot of, blank in the Mississippi State fan base. But then they came right back and answered, which I thought was huge against that team. And then Houston Harding was exceptional. And, I mean, he did what he had to do. And then Brandon Smith and Landon Sims, did their deal. But how about Tanner Allen's triple, Blake, on Sunday?
Yeah. Hit of the game.
Yeah.
The weekend.
Well, it was the hit of the weekend, no doubt. Bases loaded, and he hit a triple. Has he got speed? Or, I mean, I know the guy at McCants, I think, fumbled it for a second. Wasn't it McCants?
No, he's got speed. I mean, I think you put one to the right center field gap, that's triple territory for sure. Oh. So, Rowdy, Skinner, Tanner Allen, that's probably about it. Maybe Cam James could have done it.
What'd you make of Bianco going to Derek Diamond on Friday night? I thought that was weird.
Thought both decisions, the Friday night's decision to go to Derek Diamond and the Sunday decision to go to Mallets, were both questionable decisions from Bianco.
And then the decision for Mississippi State to go to, is his name Stinnett?
Parker Stinnett.
Stinnett, sorry.
Yeah. Over, again, with if you had used
that
Brandon
made no
Smith,
sense to me, but again, they're at practice every day, and they know.
If Saturday had been a competitive game and you used Brandon Smith, then it makes sense Stinnett might be the next guy up.
Right.
But you still had Brandon Smith untouched in the pen. I thought that was odd. He could have gone 2 innings easily.
Bottom line, Mississippi State took the series. They're a game up on Ole Miss, Blake.
And if you go 10, if we talked about how tough this schedule is going to be this year in the SEC, if you get 10-5 in the first half, I think you're looking at the last 15 games feeling like you're in a good position.
Yeah. Yeah, except you got Vandy this weekend, but I agree with you. We're live in the Bank Plus studio. We are back live in the Bank Plus studio. And this is the Out of Bounds Show, 105.9 The Zone. ESPN. We're going to have the director of the Senior Bowl on at 7:35. Is it Jim Nagy? That's what we think it is. Jim will join us on the Modelo guest line. Steve Robertson at 8 a.m. and Tom Luganbill at 8:30. All on the Modelo guest line. Welcome in. Good morning. Big Board coming up next. The Out of Bounds Show podcast is brought to you by Boar's Head. Premium meats, cheeses, and hummus. Boar's Head. Compromise elsewhere.
Board. What's on the big board?
You know, I agree with Tim on our Mississippi Ag John Deere tractor text line, 601-885-3776. Tim says, forgetting the coffee is grounds for termination. Here's the problem, Tim.
I could leave, but you're not getting back on the air.
The problem is I don't have anybody to replace him. I mean, we can make it happen, but not right now. It's kind of a pain in the you-know-what. But, Tim, I like the way you think. I really do. If anybody else thinks that Blake forgetting the coffee for, I guess, the second or third day in a row.
We weren't here Friday. That's what threw it
But you
off.
forgot it on Thursday.
I know, but I would have had it Friday if we'd been in studio.
Well, I'm docking you for all the days.
That's fine.
Okay. Yeah, so Blake bought a box of coffee.
Wednesday.
Wednesday.
Forgot it Thursday.
Forgot it Thursday.
Which is whatever. We still had some.
I was in Starkville Friday.
Yeah.
You had to go to Pear Orchard.
Yep. So I didn't take it there, obviously.
Which I wish you could be here when I'm on remote, but I can't figure that whole thing out.
That's a whole other can of worms.
Yeah. And yeah, so and now it's Monday and you forgot the coffee.
That's right. We're regrouping and
I was going to go down to Starbucks, but that stuff's garbage.
Actually, the coffee downstairs, so it's been a while since I've had it. It's probably been like a year.
Okay.
But it's passable.
Okay. All right.
I'm drinking it currently, and I haven't died yet. So.
Well, I've got some, what is that stuff called? Baileys. I've got some Baileys.
That's what I was about to say.
Over in the bar.
I may splash some Four Roses.
So if you need a shot of Baileys in your coffee to kind of get rolling on a Monday, we can do that.
There you go.
Yeah.
It's a high energy Monday. I'm ready.
Yeah.
I'm locked in.
Wow.
Tommy's upset about the bullpen management.
Yeah.
I think a lot of Ole Miss fans are upset with some coaching decisions.
Boy, McDay. Ole Miss's starting pitching was better than Mississippi State's for the weekend. I mean, MSU won 2 of 3, but I mean, I do think that is something to file. But Mississippi State made it happen on Friday and Sunday. And now they've won 16 of 19. Is that since 2016?
That's correct. So the last series that Ole Miss won was 2015.
They won 2015.
Since then, Mississippi State.
What did 2015? Was MSU good?
I don't think so.
Okay. I didn't remember if that was the Brett Rooker.
No, that was 2016, I thought.
Okay.
Was Rooker's Triple Crown year.
Okay. All right, gotcha. So the last time Bianco and Ole Miss took a series was 2015?
Correct.
Interesting.
3-16.
And
boy. all let's see, so the 3 games are 2 in Starkville, because Jake Mangum swept Ole Miss in Oxford.
Okay.
So they won a game in Starkville twice against Mangum and once this year.
Okay.
So 3 games in Starkville. They're 0-6 in Oxford since 2015.
Got it.
No Governor's Cup this year, so we're short a game.
Josh is calling me out that I don't have an official coffee of the show.
I've tried 2 different companies. I'm still pushing one.
Okay.
Trying to get some coffee people on the show.
All right. Well,
we want
if
that.
you can't get your act together, we'll just make sure XL Water and Coffee. I
That's
mean,
true.
they brought us the water cooler unit.
That is
Shout
true.
out to XL Water at mydoor.com. We may just have to do the coffee deal with them
there
too.
you go.
Yeah.
Do you get a big old jug of coffee like that? That'd be nice.
Well, I think it'll be in cups. Dummy. Good
Just
grief.
kidding. Just Joshing.
State has won with 4 different coaches.
That's correct.
Cohen, Canizero, Henderson, and Lamonis.
Correct.
Yeah. Did you tell me Canizero was 4-0 against them?
I believe that's correct.
That's
Hold
what
on,
you
let me pull
said,
that.
I think, this morning,
Yeah.
but I may have. I tuned you out when you said, I forgot the coffee. So, I don't really know what you did the rest of the time. You sat over there and, like, scurried around or something. I'm not sure. What does Tracy say here? MSU had 3 starting pitchers in their first year pitching SEC weekend. It's the depth of MSU pitching that was better than Ole Miss. I agree with that. Preston Johnson, did a great job on Friday. And Sims was good on Friday and Sunday.
Yeah, he ate up 3 innings for you.
Yeah.
I mean, that's that in a 2-game appearance over a 3-game stretch. That's about all you can ask for from your closer right there. That's pretty impressive.
And as bad as Mississippi State's bats were, like 4 through 9, and I saw the David Murray tweet on, I think at some point during the middle of the game on Sunday, they were
Correct.
3 for 49 or something.
Yeah.
Tanner Allen, Cam James, Rowdy did just enough. Now, that back end of the order got the rally going.
Correct.
Which was, I guess, typical when you tweet something out like that, then whatever you tweeted, the opposite happens.
Yeah. But isn't that what baseball's about? Like you with any team, the top of your order is supposed to produce. Your big innings come when your back end produces. I mean, that's kind of the way this works usually.
Yeah.
You can put together a big inning,
And it was
when
single,
those guys hit.
single.
Yep.
Tanner had the triple, but
paper cut.
Yeah. And who knew when Ole Miss dropped the infield fly? Charlie Winfield made a point of this as he was calling the game. Who knew that Hatcher getting out but Skinner staying on first gave you the opportunity to have so much speed on the base that eventually that came into play later, right?
Yeah, scored the first run. Yeah, that's right. So that's look. We talked about this. It felt like Ole Miss's offense was better all weekend, and their average was.
Yeah.
But you scored.
And they have more pop.
You scored 9 in one game. You split the other 2 games to be fairly manageable. If you're a Mississippi State offense, you just have to manage your runs and manufacture some offense in 2 of 3 games, and you've got a chance to win any series.
Okay.
And your pitch.
Thanks for that.
You won 2 out of 3 with your starting pitching poorly for the most part.
No, you're right. I mean, McLeod was good, but not great.
None of your 3 were great.
Bednar was not. He just wasn't on.
Yep.
And then Fristow was not on. And you make a good point. Your mid relief had to get you to the end of the game, and you got to give Foxhall and Lamonis credit. Other than, did you call him Stinnett?
Yeah, Parker Stinnett.
Yeah. Other than that, they made the right decisions in the bullpen. Whereas Bianco going with Derek Diamond was weird.
That made no sense.
And then yesterday, Ole Miss's bullpen. I mean, McDaniel, I thought, was pretty darn good.
Mm-hmm.
In that kind of atmosphere with 12, 13,000 people, that whatever it was, for him to take the baseball and chill out and get into the game, I thought the young man, he looks like he's 12. And he's a talented dude.
Yeah, and he started, like, the first 2 innings could have gone worse. Mississippi State wasn't able to take advantage of them.
True.
And that allowed him to settle in. And that, without his long run, who knows what that game looks like yesterday.
Right. That's right.
I mean, Ole Miss's pitching staff, clearly the starters.
Their starters, Hoagland,
yeah,
Bednar, McDaniel.
Hoagland, Nikhazy, McDaniel.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
People knew what you meant. Yeah.
Nikhazy was the dude on Saturday.
Yeah.
We know that.
Well, he was the best performance of the weekend.
No question. Out of the
on
6
the mound,
starters,
I would say,
the dude.
yeah.
Yeah. And then but the clutch part was Tanner Allen.
Yeah.
Well, really Tanner Allen.
Tanner Allen, and I think you got to say the Mississippi State bullpen.
Yeah,
because they didn't allow Ole Miss to stretch
blow up
either Friday
7
or Sunday.
runs in an inning.
Yep.
Yeah, or even 5.
That's it. That's the big. I mean, that's the catalyst of the win.
Okay. All right. Well, the big board this morning was brought to you by Mississippi Sports Medicine and Orthopedic Center. New surgery center and clinic, Lakeland Drive, Flowood. Also brought to you by Mississippi Ag. Your next John Deere tractor for your family land, your farm, your deer camp, your duck camp, deer duck. It starts at Mississippi Ag, agup.com. 2 locations, Canton, Pearl, and the Metro. Jim Nagy, coming up next, Senior Bowl. The Out of Bounds Show podcast is presented by Edwin Watts Golf Shop on County Line Road. Your golf game starts with Edwin Watts Golf Shop.
Everyone ready?
This is the SEC Insider Hit. Presented by your local Farm Bureau Insurance agent. Go local. Go with a home team.
All right. Good morning. Good morning. The Out of Bounds Show, ESPN 105.9 The Zone. Welcome in. We're streaming live on the Out of Bounds radio app. You can watch the show on YouTube. Search Out of Bounds Sports. And the SEC Insider Hit this morning is brought to you by Farm Bureau Insurance. Bundle your auto and home and save with your local Farm Bureau Insurance agent in any of the 82 counties in the state of Mississippi. You can also hit favorites.com, and get a quote in 4 minutes or less. All of our guests join us on the Modelo guest line, and we welcome in Jim Naggy with Executive Director of the Senior Bowl down in Mobile, Alabama, and the NFL Draft is a week and a half away. Jim, good morning. How are you?
I'm great, Bo. Good morning.
Well, man, thanks for joining us. I want to, before I get into quarterbacks, I would like to first discuss Elijah Moore. He had a tremendous year for Ole Miss, and it was all conference games, as you know, and he played in 9 of them, and he was dominant. And Kiffin and Levy did a great job with him, and, of course, Matt Corral had a big year. But there is talk that he could maybe find his way into the first round, but most people believe that he'll be off the board early, mid, second. How do you see, what do you think about his game as he goes to the next level in the NFL, Jim?
Yeah, Elijah's a really, really talented player. He's one of the most dynamic guys in the draft. The only knock is going to be size, obviously. That's really it. So, like you said, I think Lane and Jeff did a great job of scheming him. I think one of the only question marks is what's going to happen at the next level when he's in a little more tight quarters. You know, like they did such a good job of just letting him operate in space. And it's going to take a creative coordinator to figure out ways to get on the ball as well. That's just a way bigger man's league up there. So, you know, I think you could do a lot with him out of the backfield. He's just so explosive. You got to find ways to get the ball in his hands, and which Ole Miss did a great job of. And really, what resonates the most with Elijah, talking to the guys on the staff up there, is like he's one of their favorite guys. Some of those coaches I talked to, one of their favorite guys they've ever had. Which you don't hear that a lot. At the wide receiver position in terms of leadership. I'm like, that tends not to be a position where you really draw leadership from. But the staff at Ole Miss loves Elijah, speaks a lot about his leadership, his character, his maturity. So that's going to separate him as well. But I do think, maybe in that late 1 area, but it's such a deep wide receiver class that I think teams are going to wait a little bit there. Mm-hmm. So that might push some of those guys into the second.
Jim Nagy, Executive Director of the Senior Bowl, joining us on the Modelo guest line. You're listening to the Out of Bounds Show. All right, I want to bounce this off of you. Cole Kubelik said, he didn't really see much of a gap, if any, between Elijah Moore and Smith and Waddle. That maybe if he was wearing crimson and white, there would be more buzz and love. Your thoughts?
I see more of a gap than Cole, it sounds like. But that's no knock on Elijah. Those other 2 guys, in my mind, are 2 of the best receivers that have come out in a long time. Jaylen Waddles, the best returner I've scouted since Devin Hester, and he's obviously the best one to ever do it. So I think that's what separates Waddle from the rest of this class. Even Jamar Chase and Devontae Smith, that if you have a head coach that's willing to use him in the return game, now he's a complete difference maker in two phases of the game, and he might be the first one to go off the board. But again, that's no knock on Elijah. I'm a huge Kadarius Toney fan from Florida as well. He's a guy that has a lot of similarities to Elijah, but he's bigger. He's 5'11" and change. So it's just a great class. I mean, all these guys, you hate to say anything about any of them because it sounds like you're being nitpicking or you're knocking them when you talk about who your favorite is. It's just a really good class. You throw in Rondale Moore from Purdue, and then you go into the bigger guys like Nico Collins from Michigan and Bateman from Minnesota, and Amari Rogers, like he's another slot guy that Elijah's going to be going up against, and he's only 5'9.5", but he's 213 pounds. He's 30 pounds heavier than he's 30 pounds heavier than some of these other smaller slots. So it's just a great year for receivers, and there's a lot of different skill sets and body types, and it's just what fits best and really what these teams need. You got to plug one in and at the next level, if you have two or three good ones, you plug guy in that has a complementary skill set. So that's how they're going to come off the board, is how they fit with all these teams.
Jim Nagy with the Senior Bowl on the Modelo guest line. So do you have Waddle over Chase?
I don't really do a board per se because of my job here at the Senior Bowl, and ESPN tries to get me to do some of those, ranking stats.
I got you.
I'm in a little bit of a different place because I have relationships with these schools that I need to lean on. I go into these schools every year. I think we had 7 Alabama guys in the game this year, and we had 8 Ohio State guys in the game. So I tend to stay away from where I have guys ranked, but both they're right. I mean, you're splitting hairs either way.
Okay, well, how about this? What's the talking positively about the two, what is the difference in the two between Chase and Waddle? How about that?
Chase plays the big man's game. He plays bully ball at the college level. The interesting thing with Chase, and you don't hear it brought up a lot, and again, the only thing that teams are, friends in the league are talking about is, will that game carry over to the next level? He's 6 foot and change, like 6 foot and a quarter, 200 pounds. Most of the guys that play Jamar's game at the next level are 6'3", 6'4", 220, 230. So he's a tremendous player. He's explosive. I was at the Pro Day in Baton Rouge a couple weeks ago. He absolutely put on a show. So that's his game. He plays a power game. He's very, very strong and physical. And then Waddle's completely different. He's electric. You get the ball in his hands, and it's not just quickness; it's speed. I think we don't know what Jaylen was going to run because he hasn't run a 40 yet, but we've all seen that 40. Some of us have seen that 40-yard dash run that he had against Ruggs last year when they were both at Alabama together, and we know I've timed Ruggs in the 4.2s. So if Waddle's somewhere in the 4.2s, you're talking about rare speed, rare playmaking ability. He can do both punts and kicks, which a lot of guys can't do. And then what he does at receiver. Had he stayed healthy a full year this year, he might be the unquestioned number one guy. So okay. I think it just depends on who you're talking to in the league. I walked around that LSU Pro Day and asked a lot of friends around the league like what that order is for them on their board, and it totally varied. Some people had Smitty one, some had Jamar and some had Waddle, and I think the teams that had Waddle really see his impact in the return game being the difference maker.
Interesting. All right. Jim Nagy on the Out of Bounds show in the Modelo guest line, executive director of the Senior Bowl. He joins us on ESPN 105.9 The Zone. We're a week and a half out from the NFL draft, which is exciting. And so far right now, we've hit Elijah Moore, Jamar Chase, Waddle and Smith from Alabama a little bit. But this class, he mentioned several others. It's talented and deep. And, okay, how would you describe this wide receiver group that is about to get drafted, Jim, and the talent and the depth of this position going into the draft next week?
Well, it's coming on the heels of a great one last year. You look at last year's rookie class with Jefferson in Minnesota and Brandon Ayuk in San Francisco and Chase Claypool in Pittsburgh and Michael Pittman Jr. in Indianapolis. You go down the list. Last year's group was an excellent group, and now we've got a second year where it's back to back like this. So that raises the question why? Like why are these guys transitioning so much quicker than they did? Say even just 5 years ago. I think a lot of it has to do with all the 7-on-7 stuff they're doing these days, but that used to be really a position that took a couple years, sometimes 2-3 years for receivers to really get up to speed, and that's no longer the case. So the difference between last year and this year, last year's group had a lot of outside guys. This year is more of a slot heavy draft. You see a lot of these guys are going to project mostly a slot. So, Terrace Marshall is one of the only bigger guys. Nico Collins, who I mentioned, that fit more primarily as outside guys. But two great classes. I know we had a huge number in the first 3 rounds last year, somewhere in the upper teens. I think we're going to be right there this year.
Jim Nagy on the Out of Bounds show. Okay, let's go to Kyle Pitts, tight end or whatever you want to call him, out of Florida. I need him to fall to number 10 to Dallas Cowboys so that Dak can.
Ain't going to happen.
Yeah, darn it. Happen. Well, there goes that. Thanks for coming in, Jim. No, so that's not going to happen. I needed Dak and Kyle to go to the Super Bowl. So as far as your evaluation of him, I mean, is he one of the most talented tight ends / whatever that you have ever evaluated?
Yeah, absolutely. He's the best one since Vernon Davis. Had Twitter been a thing back when Vernon came out of Maryland, he would have probably broken the app. I mean, what he did. And Kyle's the best one. Looking at recent top 10 guys, Eric Ebron, a little similar athletes, but Kyle's got much more natural hands, much better blocker. I mean, I think we kind of lump. Everyone's been referring to Kyle Pitts as a pass catcher in this year's draft because they want to make that comparison to the Chase, Waddle, and Smith, and I get that, but it really does Kyle a disservice because he is a legit tight end. He's not. I did Jimmy Graham when he was coming out of Miami. I mean, Jimmy didn't want to block anybody, and he really never did in the pros as well. I mean, this kid will put his hand in the ground and engage people. He'll get into people, and he'll work to finish blocks. So he is a legit tight end. You can attach him to the line of scrimmage. You're not going to tip your hand when he's on the field. He's not just a big wideout, is some people kind of refer to him as. So no, he's an excellent player, and what isn't being talked enough about is the jump he made from sophomore tape to junior tape. We looked at him last summer, when at the Senior Bowl, just out of curiosity, when we were doing the other Florida guys, and we were doing Trayvon Grimes and Kadarius Toney, who were here in the Senior Bowl. You couldn't, and Kyle Trask, the quarterback, you couldn't help but notice Pitt. And he was a good player on 2019 tape, but took his game to a completely different level this year, which you love to see, which tells you there's still some upside out there. So that's really exciting. He's a phenomenal talent. You could argue he's the best player in the draft, right up there with Trevor Lawrence.
How about that? Jim Nagy on the Out of Bounds show, executive director of the Senior Bowl. He joins us on the Modelo guest line, and the NFL draft is a week from this Thursday, which is exciting. Elijah Moore should go on Thursday or Friday. And then Royce Newman, we'll see. It could be a big weekend for him.
Yeah, I think Royce is probably going to go somewhere either late day 2, but probably more so early day 3. I don't think Royce gets out of the 4th round. Extremely versatile. Could play all 5 spots. I think he's better suited inside. I would have loved to have seen him snap the ball down here. But we had enough centers. But he's not a guy you hear a lot about in the media. But coming out of Mobile, there was a lot of guys in the league that reached out to ask about what he was like down here because they're so interested in him. You can't have enough versatility on the offensive line, and there's such attrition over the course of an NFL season. You need guys that can move all around, and Royce can do that. Really good athlete, better athlete than he tested at Pro Day. You put on the tape, he's a good athlete. So. I don't think he's going to last. If he gets into day 3, I don't think he's going to last long.
So Royce Newman out of Ole Miss could hang around 10 years or something and make a lot of money, is what you're saying.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'd be surprised if he didn't. And his best football still ahead of him. He's just one of those versatile guys, high character guy, tough guy, just kind of that small town farm guy. We spent a lot of time with his family down here in Mobile. They were great people. Just meeting them, you kind of know what Royce is, where he came from and what he's, how he's built. And, he seems like a 10-year pro to me.
All right. Let's go to quarterbacks. Here we go. How much does Jim Nagy buy into a minimum, for the most part? Because if you profile the last 20 years, this does stack up. 24 starts minimum, if not more. The blue blood quarterbacks don't really pan out for the most part, other than Carson Palmer and Matthew Stafford. Elevating your team when you're a top 5 recruiter, you don't have to do as much of that, Jim, as you top 10 recruiter. You don't have to do as much of that as Eli, Dak, Aaron Rodgers, Mahomes, so on, who didn't play at Blue Bloods. So where does Jim Nagy, fit or fall when you hear the starts, elevating your team, and that for the most part, if you take the 6 to 8 Blue Bloods, you don't get a lot of NFL QBs out of those programs, Jim?
Don't know where you exactly want me to go on this one, but I'll say that all of the top 5 guys that are being talked about, you can make a case for all of them. Trevor Lawrence, what he did coming in, winning national title as a true freshman, having a little bit of a sophomore slump on 19 tape, who was really pressing too much, trying to do too much himself, really settled back in this year and had an awesome year. So he makes a ton of sense at one. Zach Wilson at BYU, it looks like if you just look at the stats, it looks like he came out of nowhere this year until you dig a little deeper and find out he was playing 2019 with a broken hand and a bunch of other injuries that he gutted through. I mean, the staff of BYU tried to shut him down last year. They didn't want him to play just because they knew he wasn't, going to be at his best, and he wouldn't do it. He wouldn't shut himself down, and he just played through that stuff. So that's why it looked like a great statistical leap this year, but he's always had that talent. And then the interesting thing I find about this year's draft to me is Mac Jones. There's so much blowback right now against Mac Jones being, a top 5 pick. And if he goes 3 at San Francisco, if you just compare the resumes and the skill sets and the talents of he and Joe Burrow, Joe was the, overwhelming number 1 overall pick, widely accepted. Nobody fought back against that. They were both 3rd or 4th rounders, going into their senior years for most teams that I've talked to, and that's exactly where we had them graded at the Senior Bowl. You had phenomenal senior years, record-setting years in the SEC, national championships, undefeated, very similar athletes, very similar from the pocket, accurate, great feel, great leadership. Everything lines up with these 2 players. And Joe Burrow, maybe it was the Joe Cool factor, and he had that. There's no doubt he had that. But everyone just like, oh yeah, Joe Burrow number 1. You didn't think twice about it. And then with Mac Jones, there's this growing blowback that like Mac doesn't belong up there. So I just find that kind of fascinating that we're only 1 year removed from Joe Burrow, and really the 2 resumes line up. They're almost identical. They're skill sets. I mean, you look at the 2 guys. They're so close. So if San Francisco goes Mac Jones at 3, I think it's a warranted pick. The great thing, it's made for a lot of debate, and
Sure.
Doing the ESPN stuff that I'm doing now, there's a lot of talking points on this quarterback class.
Now, I didn't mean to put you on the spot there, by the way. So, I don't want you to get mad at us or anything. Jim Nagy, executive director of the Senior Bowl. So let's go to this. We just had a listener text us. True Maroon says, the Senior Bowl is the best if you've never been. I've been every year for the past 5 years. And it's pretty cool seeing the players from all over the country. He goes on to say, I've met Jim several times, and he's an awesome guy. Very nice. So there you go, Jim. How about that?
Well, that's nice. That's a great way to start my day. I appreciate that. It is a great event. You guys being up in Jackson, we actually, when Hurricane Sally hit down here last fall, we took the family up and stayed in Jackson for a few days. So it's not, I only say that because it's not that far of a drive, and it's an amazing event. I've only been here 3 years, but I've been coming to the game for over 20 years as an NFL scout. And it's, we're trying to build more around the event. We had a Players Mardi Gras parade a couple of years ago. We had a downtown concert, trying to make it more of a party atmosphere, but the football itself, I mean, you can walk around Mobile, the whole NFL descends on our little town here. We're smaller than Jackson, and you can walk into restaurants, bars downtown, and there'll be like 3 NFL head coaches sitting in the bar drinking beer together. Like you don't get it anywhere else. And then you go to practice and you're standing 10 feet from these guys, and you can interact with them. I mean, the access to the players is incredible. So yeah, I appreciate the opportunity to talk about the game a little bit because it's an easy drive, and it really, if you're a football fan, I know I sound biased sitting in the chair I'm sitting in, but it really is an incredible week.
Yeah, and Mobile's only 3 hours from here, so Phil Savage and his team did a great job. You and your team have done a great job. It looks to me like y'all are growing. Like you said, not just the game, but the week and the event. Will you walk our listeners through? Oh, we've only got a couple of minutes here, but how intense like Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday is for the play? Take out COVID. On a normal year, when they come in and they're working out and they're meeting with NFL personnel, can you walk us through that, Jim?
Yeah, it's a stressful week for these guys, by design, because the NFL is a stressful league, just managing it. But they get in town on Sunday. They meet with their NFL staffs. This year it was the Dolphins and the Panthers, and they get their playbooks. And so obviously trying to absorb a playbook in a couple of days isn't easy. They're interviewing with all 32 teams, so that's another level of stress. And then the practices, we just go in helmets and shoulder pads on Tuesdays to, kind of knock the rust off a little bit. Some of these guys hadn't played in a while, especially this year. We had guys in the game that hadn't played in like 16 months. They hadn't had pads on. So you knock the rust off a little Tuesday. And then Wednesday and Thursday is just incredibly competitive practice periods. And then Friday we take them off the field. We have a big community service day where we go to children's hospitals and schools and whatnot in the area. And then Saturday's game day. And we moved our game this year from a 75-year-old stadium here in Mobile to a brand new $75 million stadium on the campus of South Alabama. And it was an absolute game changer for our event. So state-of-the-art new venue, great place to see a game, great hospitality, entertaining. And the football's been great. We've had a top 10 quarterback 5 years in a row. Hopefully Mac will now make it 6. And we've had 40 players drafted in the first 3 rounds each of the last 2 years and 93 players overall the last 2 years. It's weird how those numbers have worked out. So that's why we say the draft starts in Mobile. 38% of the draft has been here the last 2 years. So it's just a unique opportunity to come down and get this close to these players and the NFL guys.
He is the executive director of the Senior Bowl out of Mobile. He is Jim Nagy on the Modelo guest line. Got about a minute here, a minute and a half. You mentioned, you've worked for the Patriots and the Packers and the Seahawks and so on. 18 years as a scout, so you've been doing this deal for a while. Even though you weren't the executive director at the time, are you surprised Dak's had the success that he had? He was the Senior Bowl MVP.
Yeah, a little bit. I didn't go into Mississippi State the year Dak came out, so I didn't do a full report on him or anything. I sat through meetings and we watched him in meetings and whatnot. So I'm a little familiar with what Dak did and what he looked like. But anytime you're taking a quarterback there in the 4th round, you're drafting him to be a backup. When I was in Seattle that year, Dallas tried to trade up to our first pick spot and take Paxton Lynch, and our GM traded that pick to Denver, and they took him. So I really think Dak was the fallback option, and Dallas was the opposing coaching staff in the Senior Bowl that year. So we do let the other team kind of work. We kind of have a team swap for a day, and they fell in love with Dak. So to see what he's become and like the highest paid quarterback in the league and a superstar, it's awesome. It's awesome. But it goes back to who Dak is. I remember Coach Carroll. I wasn't in on the scheduled interview they had with Dak that year in Seattle. But I remember seeing Coach Carroll afterwards, and he's like, Jim, do you know much about this Dak Prescott? I said, I really don't. He's like, that's one of the most phenomenal kids I've ever met.
Wow.
So that part doesn't surprise me. After Pete said that, it doesn't surprise me.
Jim, thank you so much for your time this morning, and congratulations on your success with the Reese's Senior Bowl. We appreciate you, man.
Yeah, Bo, thanks for having me on. Have a great day.
Executive Director of the Senior Bowl, Jim Naggy, 18 years as an NFL scout. He joined us on the Modelo guest line. That was great. From Elijah Moore to some other receivers, quarterbacks, Kyle Pitts, and they're doing a great job down in Mobile for the Reese's Senior Bowl. We're live in the Bank Plus studio. The SEC Insider Hit this morning was brought to you by Farm Bureau Insurance. Bundle your auto and home and save with your local Farm Bureau Insurance agent. Steve Robertson in 5 minutes, recapping the weekend. Hail State, Ole Miss.